Okay, so we are now on task 18. This is our bacterial culture and sensitivity. We are going to use Derby again as our patient. She does not have any clinical active infections that I know of, but she does have a bit of gingivitis and gum disease going on. So what I'm going to do, actually, she's not too bad. Not as bad as I expected. So we're going to get a little bit of sample of her periodontitis just to see what's kind of growing in there. And dog's mouths are full of bacteria, so hopefully we'll get a good growth out of her mouth. So what I have are 2 sterile swabs. I'm going to do 2 plates so that we can have them for our culture and our sensitivity. Later on, I've got 2 different types of bacterial plates that we can use. So I'm going to get samples out of her mouth. Can you sit? Sit. Good girl. Stay. She's a very good girl. So, stay. So I'm just going to swab along her carnassial tooth at the top because that is the worst one here. Just trying to get as much of the debris off as I can. Good girl. Alright, so got a bit of a sample there. There's a little bit of blood because I was swabbing pretty hard on that one. I'm just going to set it to the edge of a tray. And then I'm going to do the other side. Good girl. This one's going to be better. Alright, so this one's a little bit better. You can see there's a little bit more bacterial growth in there. So I'm just going to switch over and pull you over to our lab. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I have our plates. I've labeled them, so it's hard to see because I accidentally used red Sharpie with red agar plates, so that's great. So these agar plates actually have 5% sheep's blood in them as well. A lot of times you'll get a better bacterial growth on those. So you can see this says Derby left carnassial, and then the other one says Derby right carnassial. And typically you store them upside down, but I'm going to turn them right side up for now. And I am just going to take our swab and roll it along one edge of our plate. So I'm just kind of rubbing it on one side. And then I'm going to set aside our swab. And I'm going to take out my round sample wand thing here. And I'm actually going to heat sterilize it, so just putting it in the flame until it turns red. And I give it a couple seconds to cool. I don't want to use it hot. It'll melt the agar. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to, I don't know if you can kind of see, our slide is right here. So I'm going to cross hatch here at the top, at the sides, and then at the bottom. And I just want to make sure that with each cross hatch I intersect our sample or the previous cross hatch. So start here and just streak it right through. And I only need to streak it a couple of times. I don't want to really go at it. I don't really want to dig into it or anything like that. So just a couple of streaks. Alright, so that should be good. And then I'm going to set that aside. Set our wand aside. Actually, I'm going to heat sterilize this now. Again. Right until it gets red. And then I'm just going to set it aside. I'm just going to do the same thing on this plate. Roll our sample right into our agar. And I'm just rolling it in lines, nothing special. Try not to overlap it. And I take our wand and just skim it through one side, 2 sides, 3 sides. Okay. Those are our 2 samples. I'm going to turn you around. We do not have an incubator here at our hospital, so I am actually using this insulated cooler, and I have put just packing bubble here on the bottom to act as a shelf, so it's not sitting directly on the bottom, but it's going to allow some airflow. It's going to hold in the heat. I've put it in this window. We get a lot of afternoon sun. This is one of the warmest windows in our office, so I put it right in front of that. Try to keep it warm. And I'm going to try to put our plates on as much of a level as I can with the packing material. And then just close it up. As good as I can. I might need to actually put just peeking through here. Make sure I can close it. Alright, nice and closed. So I'm just going to leave this for 24 hours to see if anything grows in it. Once the 24 hours is up, then I'll come back and I'll put in our bacterial, antibacterial samples in it to see if it's sensitive to any of those. So that should be it. I'll see you in 24 hours. So we've been letting our culture sit for 24 hours now. Like I said, I placed it in the window in this cooler so that it stays warm and stays on temperature. We don't have an incubator here, so this is a good alternative to use instead of that. So I'm going to open up our incubator here to see what we got. So we got some good colonies growing in this one. You can see there's an area of darker growth. That's possibly some contamination or just a darker colony right there, but there's a lot of little, you can see it better this way, little white colonies growing out throughout. So this is our main sample, and then we have 1, 2, 3 cross hatchings that we have, so that's a good sample there. Alright, and then this is pretty decent too, so see if you can see it. So the stronger one is here, that's our primary scrape, and then 1, 2, 3 cross hatchings. This one didn't get quite as much as the other one did. See it right there? Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do our sensitivity testing. So these are both from the same growths, the same samples. Scraping of Derby's mouth we got right in the lab. So I am just going to use our sensitivity disc. I'm going to use one disc on one side and the other disc on the other. I have 2 different kinds, so I'm going to get a permanent marker so I can write which is which. And we have ciprofloxacin, and we have penicillin. So what I'm going to do is get my culture wand here. My lighter might be dying. Alright, so my lighter is dead, so I cannot actually sterilize myself. I'll get another one. And this one's dead too. Try one more time, I think it goes there. Just gonna let it heat till it's red, and then I'm gonna let it cool for a minute. And I'm gonna take out our sample, our sensitivity disc. And this is the ciprofloxacin, and what I'm going to do is I'm I'm just going to use, I'll get you a little bit closer here. So I'm just going to use the tip of this to push the disc out, and I'm going to try to get it over a good area of growth here. And there's one, and I'm going to put 2 discs down here. Alright. And while that cools, I'm going to grab another glove. Alright, so I'm going to cap that, put it aside, grab the penicillin, and just do the same thing. So I'm just going to use this to move the disc in the area I want it. Alright, so this is my penicillin on my disc, and then this is my ciprofloxacin on the disc. I tried to put them in areas where there's some pretty good growth. So what I'm going to do is let them sit for just a couple minutes like this to adhere more to the agar plate. Close up all of this. And so that should be good. So I'm going to flip them upside down. Make sure that they're sticking. And then I'm just going to put them back into our incubator. And I'm going to let them sit for another 24 hours to see if the antibiotic has inhibited any growth within the disc, the culture. And then we'll take a look and check it tomorrow. Alright, so we've waited another 24 hours for the growth of our cultures after putting in our discs, our sensitivity discs. So I'm going to open this up and see what we've got going on now. Okay, so taking a look at these, ideally what you would want to do when you're doing a sample like this is a multi-step process. So you would actually take one of these little colonies off to get the most pure sample, and you would reculture that, and then you would reculture it again on a plate that already had the discs on it. So you culture it and then put the discs on and then wait for growth. We did it a little bit backwards. I put the sensitivity discs on a plate that already had growth. So the way I'm reading this is going to be a little bit different than the other way you would do it. So with this, what I'm looking at is for any changes in growth. So what should happen is the sensitivity disc should stop any further growth in the area of the disc. So you can actually see it really well with the ciprofloxacin. This is off the right side carnassial. Let me see if I can get this up. So you can see there's kind of this little area around our sensitivity where there is no extra growth. So it propagated really well here, the bacteria continued to propagate really well right here. And then around each of the little discs, there is no additional growth, but then it goes further out over here as well. So I would consider this to actually be sensitive to ciprofloxacin. So if it needed to, we could use that for Derby's if she got an infection in her mouth that was bothering her, because you can just kind of see it's almost like you could draw a little circle right around this area of the ring. So that's a good result. You don't get that as much in the penicillin. It's very, very slight. So this is off the left side, the left carnassial. So you can just see maybe it's having an effect on the growth, where it's inhibiting any further growth of the bacteria, but it's really hard to tell on this one. I would not call this a success like I would the other one. This one doesn't seem to have inhibited growth quite as much. So if we were looking to treat for this kind of bacterial infection, I would go with the ciprofloxacin. Again, like I said before, what you ideally would want to do is you would take one of these little colonies, you would take your little swab, your culturette, and you would move it to a different agar plate. You would culture that and let it grow. You would gram stain it so that you could see if it was gram positive, gram negative, exactly what you're dealing with. And then you would culture it a third time, immediately placing the sensitivity discs onto the agar and let it grow. But we don't have a lot of culture medium here. We don't usually do that in a small animal hospital. So doing it quickly this way gives us 2-day results to see that, yes, this seems to be sensitive to ciprofloxacin. It's at least inhibiting the growth of this bacteria, preventing further growth of what's there. So I would say that's a good show.